Hello, and welcome to another Mansions of Madness painting video. Today I'm going to be painting Charlie Kane, the politician. It's going to be a pretty simple model. As always, take care of any mold lines if you wish. There is a little bit of a mold line across the top of his head that's kind of annoying to get rid of, but if you can, go for it. I also decided to go with zenithal highlighting, and for once we're going to take really big advantage of it. So I'm not really doing this in any particular order. In fact, I would actually recommend starting with the skin rather than what I did, but nonetheless, I started with the suit. And for the suit, I just mixed a little bit of black with dark sea blue. It's a very, very subtle blue, so it's not going to be very noticeable. And I applied this very thinly. You don't want a heavy coat. Nice thing about this is that the zenithal highlighting will show through. And then basically, once we get to the final stages, we don't really have to do much of any highlighting at all if we don't want to. I use this for the shoes as well. Don't forget to hit the belt loops with this black color. For the shirt, I'm using a really pale gray. Personally, I use pale gray blue, but you can just use really any sort of pale gray color. Also, I use this for the hair. For the belt, I use Mournfang Brown. The base tone for the skin is Bugman's Glow mixed with Cadian Fleshtone. For the tie, I used Mephiston Red. For the watch and the chain around the tie, I use the gold paint from Army Painter, but you can use any metallic paint that you wish. And then lastly, for the cigar in his hand, I used Gorthor Brown. Not going to use too many shades here, but I used Cadian Fleshtone for all the fleshy bits. Used Carebark Crimson for the tie. Agrax Earthshade for the cigar and the gold chains. I mixed 1 part Agrax Earthshade, 1 part Jurichi Violet, and 4 parts of Lahmian medium to make a pretty thin, dark wash. And I use this basically for everything else: the hair, the shirt, and the suit. And finally, to do some highlights, I'm going to start with the skin this time. I would actually recommend doing the eyes first before you do the highlights, because he does have kind of smallish eyes. I did them after I did some of the skin highlights, so you'll see what I did to kind of fix any mistakes. So first up, we're using pure Cadian Fleshtone. That's going to cover pretty much 90%. I'm keeping maybe the gaps between fingers and just the deepest recesses, our original base tone. Then I'm doing a mix of Cadian Fleshtone and Kislev Flesh. Again, covering most of the area, but leaving some areas like bottom of the hand, the underside, sort of the deepest part of the neck untouched. From there, we're going to use pure Kislev Flesh. And here you want to really hit to the highlighted area. So basically, definitely the top of his head, the tips of his fingers, and the most upraised parts of the figure, and the most exposed skin areas of the figure. I then tackled the eyes a little bit. I used ivory to fill in the eye sockets, and then dabbed a little bit of black for the pupils. Now his eyes are pretty small and slanted, so I did go over some of the skin areas accidentally. Easiest way to fix that is to go back with your Cadian Fleshtone Kislev Flesh mix and just go over those areas a couple times to cover up any mistakes. And then for the cigar, we're going to put like a little bit of a burnt area at the tip. I started with Storm Vermin Fur, which is kind of a dark gray, and that's going to be your big sort of area where there's a lot of ash on the cigar. Over that, I used Celesta Gray to make sort of a smaller area, mostly towards the tip. Inside of that, I put Mephiston Red, and then I highlighted it a little bit with Wild Rider Red. Then I took pure white. This is going to be a little bit tricky, but you really want to try to pick out some of the hair details, mostly towards the top, but you can pick out a little bit at the bottom. Try to leave some of the recessed areas. Not the most detailed amount of hair, so you're going to have some trouble, and you might go over some of the recesses, which is okay on a figure like this. And then I hit the collar and the shirt itself. I tried to leave sort of the folds, the darker base tone, and really just kind of highlight everything else. I applied it relatively thinly as well, so that, especially towards the bottom, you'd kind of keep the darker tone still there. And I used a little bit on the cuff, especially the area that you can see. Now I chose not to actually highlight the suit or the shoes. I felt the zenithal highlight did a pretty good job of leaving just enough highlights through that it worked. But if you did want to do actually some more highlighting, I would just recommend using that black dark sea blue mix and then mix in some pale gray blue in several stages, and you can get a nice highlight tone that works pretty well for this color. Lastly, I did the base, keeping it simple here, Mechanicus Standard Gray. And then blasted the figure for protection with some matte varnish. And that's it for this painting video. It's pretty short and sweet. I will probably finish the Charlie Kane expansion first. There's only one more investigator to paint, and then that expansion will be completely painted. There's another expansion I'm working on, which I definitely have the monsters to go do. I will probably do those. But there's another figure expansion with a whole bunch of investigators and monsters that I also have. I still do not have a core set, and I'm missing one of the figure and tile sets at this moment. So we'll see when I can get my hands on one of those, hopefully sometime in the near future, and then I'll just have a whole swath of options to choose from. But if there's anything you really would like to see, let me know in the comments below. See you next video. Bye.